Welcome back to day two from Marbella. It's still sunny. First of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors who make all of this possible. So I'd like to thank Mojo Host, Securian Pay, and Crack Revenue. We've had a great time here, day one. If you missed some of the sessions and you're watching Umbrella, you need to go to the schedule, tick past content, which is a little tick box on the top right, and you can see everything from yesterday. All of the videos are embedded there. I've had a few people ask me, where's this video, where's that video? That's where they all are. If you're watching on Facebook, you can just go to videos and look at the videos from yesterday, and the same on YouTube as well. So we're in 3 different places right now. Please do ask your questions. So if you're Umbrella, use the chat box on the right-hand side. So just wanted to give you a quick few highlights. These were the sessions that I was involved in. We have 3 stages running, so I didn't see all of the seminars yesterday. But the 3 highlights for me, I think Pedro Lindsay, who was on about 10 o'clock local time yesterday, his session was called Metallica, Van Gogh, and the E-commerce Generation. Pedro is a lecturer and a consultant in e-commerce and digital marketing. So if you're interested in things like dark stores, whether the retail apocalypse is really happening, he gave a brilliant talk with lots of examples about that. I should mention David Meltzer, who was right at the end yesterday on Stream 1. David is super famous in the US. He was a sports marketing agent. So if you like American football, then David is one of the leading figures in that world. He's written books. He's also a friend of Gary Vee, if you're a Gary Vee fan. So definitely worth checking out David's talk. And then probably the most off-the-wall, crazy, and great guy that I spoke to yesterday was Keith from Inter7. That was a session about the do's and don'ts of email marketing, and you've just got to watch it for Keith's energy levels. I don't know where he gets it from. So today, we're moving on. We're going to talk about native trends in 2021. There's also a session on dynamic product ads on Facebook and Pinterest, if you're interested in that. And there's also quite a few sessions that are regional deep dives. So if you're interested in Latin America or here on Stream 1, which is the next session after this, we've got SEO, blogging, and e-commerce in India. So well worth a look. But first of all, I'd like to welcome a fantastic speaker to start the day. We're going to look at creative data science, and we're going to break through the clutter with Nicholas, the CEO of Wonderbrand. Nicholas, over to you.
Thank you, and welcome to everyone at this fantastic conference. So very excited to be here with you today. Today I'm going to be talking through something called creative data science. And this is a topic that a lot of people are discussing at the moment, is how does AI and machine learning impact on business, and how can we use creativity to really break through the clutter, since everyone is talking about this and so many businesses are starting to use data science and AI, particularly in their businesses. So just a quick breakdown of who Wonderbrand is first. So our business is really AI and data science driven brand strategy. How do we visualize brands? So you've got brands, how do we bring this to life and also make it look fit for purpose? And then the whole management of brands, another exciting part. So once you've got the brand, it doesn't just exist by itself. It is a living, dynamic organism which needs to be built, and that's where our AI and machine learning competencies come in. Some of our clients, we're really an emerging market specialist, so our agencies, businesses across Asia and Africa, and a lot of multinational strategy clients. So when we look at brand strategy and how we implement big data and analytics into strategy, we also look at large clients, McDonald's, PepsiCo, etc. So I thought it might be interesting to have a look at creative data science and my particular journey, because it's quite a, I think from my perspective, quite an interesting one. I started out in trend forecasting at JWT. I then moved on to Interbrand, which is the world's largest brand agency. And this is sort of in the early 2000s, they started bringing in data analytics into brand strategy. So you had all of these brand analytics, brand health checks coming into the fore, but typically done with interviews and on spreadsheets. I then went and sold and cut a lot of chickens at Nando's as international brand manager. At this stage, very little insights in terms of big data was used in these type of businesses. Moving on then to Viacom and heading up the marketing for MTV in Africa. The focus here was really on getting eyeballs onto screens, and the purpose of companies like Viacom is to sell advertising, similar to a lot of you who are listening. So the point here really was to understand analytics of understanding consumers, especially in new consumers in countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. I then started my own agency, Wunderbrand, and this is where we started looking at analytics in slightly more detail. And then finally, my move from being a brand strategist into the data science space happened in Malaysia with a company called Matora. So if one has a look at this progression from trend forecasting all the way to data science, a lot of you will find that in your career, you'll have multiple changes, and especially in your businesses, changes of how traditional roles have now turned into more data-centric roles. So to break down what we're going through today, I want to look at the changing role of AI in creative, the importance of creative data science and how you can become a creative data scientist. And then we'll look at the customer journey and how to actually start this data science journey. If you have a look at these interesting pigeons on the right, this is the first type of GoPro. And technology has changed tremendously from wartime to where we are now in this AI-driven economy that we're in now. And AI has changed tremendously how people look at business and how we look at data. I want you to just consider how roles have changed from when you had Kodak as one of the largest companies in the world. You had tons of technicians. You had lots of people who were very specialist in their particular roles and very useful. And all of those roles of photo booth operators and photographic process operators have now absolutely disappeared, and people have transitioned into new roles. So how do we stay ahead and stay relevant in this AI world where a lot of our businesses are under threat from businesses that have come completely from left field? And part of it is being ahead of the AI narrative. And by being ahead of the AI narrative, it means understanding what the roadmap is from these large tech companies in terms of how they're rolling out AI and how it can potentially be used in your business. It also really means understanding your clients' changing worlds. We were promised in the 50s, nuclear was a big, was changing the entire landscape. And there were lots of adverts and lots of views towards where's humanity going to be in the future? And everyone is going to have helicopters, flying cars, and even now we're expecting, if you look at Back to the Future in the early 80s, flying cars were something that were not that far in the future. So we want a lot of these technological changes have sort of come into, from popular culture now into our real lives. But we need to understand what consumers' expectations are as well from us and how we can start planting that seed in terms of what they're going to expect from us in the next couple of years. So there are these new customer expectations. If one takes the motor vehicle industry as one example, the move from carbon fuel to battery fuel. And these are going to be driving consumer preference, not just now, but over the next 10, 20 years. So you need to understand where the customer's expectations are now so that you can be ahead of the game and start building content and start building platforms that are going to really reach onto this. So what is a creative data scientist? And I coined this term because a lot of folks are thinking that to be a data scientist, you need to understand statistics, you need to be, understand machine learning, you need to be a coder. And this is not 100% true. A lot of agencies, a lot of businesses have had this data science competency already in their businesses, but it's been called different names. It's been analysts, it's been researchers. And specifically in the industries that we're looking at in this conference, understanding data, looking at where consumer trends are going, wrangling data has been terrifically important. So we've all really been involved in some kind of data science as well. If you look at your mobile phones, if you look at how Google and Facebook pick up your faces, names, and you can type in watch and up will come any photo that's got a watch in it that you've shot in the last couple of years. We're already starting to use data science anyway and AI in our daily life. So you can sort of start seeing yourself as you're already starting to use these applications and starting to look at new ways that it can be used. Now, understanding the terminology that is used in the AI and machine learning industry is another way that you can start getting yourself into the world of data science. You don't necessarily need to understand how to program, but you need to know the right terminology, the right technologies and platforms so that you can make decisions in your business and start forwarding that idea of implementing AI and machine learning into your business. I point out here that you only need to be 5 minutes ahead of your customer. At this stage, it's probably 30 seconds ahead of your customer and ahead of your competitor. So we have a look at not trying to reinvent the wheel, not trying to do flying cars, not trying to get to the moon, but just being that one step ahead of the customer and making sure that you're delivering value at that stage. The other thing for those who have got a data science or an AI machine learning mindset is that you need to get yourself a seat at the table. A lot of discussions are happening in business with regards to the future of the business without taking into consideration how AI and machine learning is going to change how you monetize your business, how you reach new customers, and also what your competitors are doing. So it's very important to start bringing these conversations to the table and having somebody who understands the AI and machine learning landscape so that you can make sure that you can have a business that will win in the future. To be a creative data scientist, you also need to do some traditional activities such as understanding your customer's journey, and we've transformed that into something called the customer data journey. So the way that customers engage now, there's a heck of a lot of data being generated across multiple platforms. So mobile phones, smart TVs, also a variety of apps and their shopping, how they go about their shopping. So as a business, we now need to start mapping, okay, where are there opportunities for us to be able to get new types of data or relevant data from customers? So really understanding that customer journey map is key to success. And what we do is we are enhancing this traditional customer journey map by finding new opportunities to generate data, to capture data, and also to start asking customers for their preference. And this can be done through typical web analytics, heat maps, etc. on devices, and being able to give real-time feedback to customers and the ability of AI to be able to recommend things immediately really adds tremendous value to this journey. But with a lot of data comes a lot of responsibility, and we all know that there can be an overkill of advertising and engagement and communication to customers. So we want to try and keep our engagement with our customers in a way that is natural and in a way that really engages with them at points when there is a purchase opportunity. Otherwise, you can kill this friendship. So how do we go about actually building a AI and machine learning and data science driven business? So the point is that we really want to build and create data products that create actionable insights. And the first way to do this is by building our data platform. And the data platform is going to be that bridge between all of the data that you're getting from either your internal sources or external sources. So this can be data that you're generating from your website, data that you are purchasing. And the data platform is also something that could be a logical database or data lake or warehouse. How are you storing and capturing all of this data that you're getting from your customers. This siloization of data where sales data stays with one department, finance data stays with another department, marketing data stays with another department, and trend data is elsewhere. That needs to be now in a very robust data platform where it is able to be put into a meaningful platform. Secondly, we need to try and democratize data, and specifically now with all of these, with the legalities around data collection and using personal data, there has to be very strong data governance built within these processes. And this data discovery and standardization for the team, in terms of how do you make sure that your team who are involved with digesting and making use of this data have easy access, and that they are not being spread too thin by trying to find data all over the place. And then lastly, we're looking at data products. So this is really the implementation of, once you've generated your data and you've wrangled it and you've created value out of it, how is this actually then productized and brought out to either your internal team or to your market? And this all ties into something called augmented intelligence. And I found a nice little quote here in terms of what is augmented intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And while artificial intelligence is the creation of machines to work and react like humans, augmented intelligence is using those same machines with a different approach, which is to enhance the human worker. And I think where creative data science is moving is in this augmented intelligence space, where the data is great, but it's really using our creativity and using our thinking versus just expecting the AI bots and machine learning algorithms to do our work from us. We really have to start applying our minds and starting to think in this data-driven way. So we need to control the user experience by creating purpose-built apps. We don't just want to create and generate data for the sake of having data. And the way that we start building these products that are going to be useful is by evaluation and iteration. So it's your thinking small, starting small and thinking big. In Africa, where I come from, we have a saying of, how do you eat an elephant? So a big project, you start by the tail. So you just start nibbling at little bits, basically. And we want to have these fast delivery of concepts so that we can check whether there's failure, whether they work, and whether they're adding value. The continuous improvement aspect, and what with the platforms that are out there right now, like Data IQ, which integrate everything from your coders all the way to the production side, is that you are now able to work in a single data science platform where all team members are able to work together without having to move in and out. So you can have this fast delivery and continuous improvement. And lastly, this focus on the ease of use through user experience. If the content and the way that the data is presented to non-technical or non-data science professionals, that can really stifle the usage of these products. Secondly, once you've got these products ready, you need to build them to scale. So how do you start growing you need to build the strong foundation that is scalable and flexible. So the other thing with data is that it must be relevant to the organization, and it must really deliver on solving pain points that the business has. Automating these elements makes sense. So once you've come up with a concept, having process automation and other bots doing this type of work is how we can start getting people back to focusing on creativity. And at the end of the day, it has to generate business value. As I discussed right in the beginning, this concept of people being slightly concerned about their role in the AI, in this AI and machine learning future by not being data scientists, not being necessarily statisticians, is to try and start creating fans by creating actionable and deliverable insights. So we want to make sure that the folks who are, once the AI and machine learning is being productized, that it is easy to use and scalable across the whole of your organization. So we really want to create fans, because this data that you're generating is creating value to the business. So in summary, we want to build our AI and machine learning platforms and use creative data science for a purpose. You need to evaluate and iterate constantly to make sure that you are delivering value to the business. And at the end of the day, you need to create actionable insights. So some of my final thoughts are regarding creative data science and how to break through clutter is to try and think of our own role in this journey. And I like to think about creative data science and data science as a whole as that most humans now have their own internal algorithm. Well, we've always had this internal algorithm, which is sometimes called the BS radar. So, and a lot of people have that, and some people have it to a greater degree than others. So our brains are constantly trying to outwit the algorithms that we as businesses are developing to try and get eyeballs, trying to get business from them. So, and customers know that we're trying to outwit them and that we're trying to manipulate them. So I mentioned earlier, trying to be that just 5 minutes ahead of them is going to be enough, because their algorithm, like Google and YouTube and all of these other algorithms, are changing constantly as they figure out how you're trying to get eyeballs, trying to get sales. So the value of creativity is tremendously important. So creativity, it's our only hope. The great way of breaking through into the consumer's mind is by using data science, AI in new and innovative ways that only you and your organization will be able to figure out because of your deep understanding of your customer. But there are definitely ways of using AI, machine learning, data science, not just as statisticians and data scientists, but as creative data science. So yeah, may the AI be with you.
And with you, Nicholas. I'm fascinated by how this goes down with clients. So I could totally buy into the fact that the person who has the insights, who's able to interpret this data, is kind of a guru. You know, that's a great person to have in the room. And I've also seen the other side where you give people a statement or some data to look at or some analysis, and they get 3 different answers from it, or they make it kind of fit what they want to believe. So how does this play out when you're talking to clients, when it's strategic decisions that are being made? What are some of the things that really have the most impact with them?
The biggest challenge when starting on an AI and machine learning journey is to have a single source of truth. So you've picked up one of the key issues there, which is about having multiple versions of the truth. And it's why we are starting to see the data cleansing and that data platform stage being very important, because a lot of people want to jump straight into AI and machine learning, create bots. They want to use all these great buzzwords that they've used. But unless you get your data governance right, unless you get your data fundamentals right, unless you get that customer data journey correct as well, you're going to see, just similar to any other business, that there are going to be completely different opinions and versions of the truth. So the boring stuff is really just getting your data right in the beginning, trying to have a strategy for the business in terms of what are you trying to achieve. So how is the consumer changing, and how is what our AI or machine learning concept going to deliver value both to the business and to us in the future. I think we've lost Ralph there, but if we've got any questions, you can put it in the chat board. That'd be great. Okay, he's on his way back. So yeah, I think one of the important aspects of starting your data science journey is getting your data correct. So where are you getting your data? Is it internal data? Is it data that you're buying from affiliates? Is it data that you're getting off Kaggle and things like that? Are you creating new models, so new data science concepts where something off the shelf might work for you? A lot of businesses are trying to reinvent the wheel, whereas we're seeing something changing in the industry from where you had data scientists working by themselves very diligently on Python and R and so on, coming up with all of these complicated algorithms, where now there are platforms which have something called Auto AI and Auto ML. So all of the major concepts in data science have really been codified already. So there are off-the-shelf algorithms that you can use for a variety of requirements. So I would suggest that anyone wanting to start on their data science journey, don't start from scratch. Take off-the-shelf algorithms and products. They've already been tested. AI and machine learning is not new. This has been going on since World War II. So the concept, the naming has now become mainstream, but a lot of the concepts are codified already. So don't start from scratch. Find pre-made algorithms and start from there. Once you start having a very specific business requirement, then you can start making some adjustments. But really, don't start from scratch, and don't just hire a team of data scientists and lock them away in a dark room and expect results from them.
Nicholas, I wanted to ask you about some customer examples, if you can talk about that. So I love change. I love kind of, this was the challenge, or this is what people thought was true, but actually the data showed something else. Do you have any examples like that?
Oh, so the point of machine learning, again, is to try and AI is to try and find those anomalies that are in the data. And again, it's quite early phase in the data science space. And you touched on something earlier in terms of how do you trust the results? And we're in that phase right now where AI and machine learning coming up with these brilliant results saying, okay, this is actually your target market. This is where you should sell your product. These are areas that you should focus on. But at the end of the day, do you trust the machine? And we have that with customers as well. The machine learning algorithms are churning out some brilliant insights. Number one, you've got to have people who understand how to interpret these results. Are there errors in the original data that you've got? For example, if the US Army had to use AI algorithms to use their drones to blow people up, would you trust AI for them the AI in that machine to really determine who's a threat, who's not a threat? A lot of people are going to say no, because they'd rather use human intuition. But the machines actually are much better at this stuff than we are. But it's that balance. That's why I said the augmented intelligence is really where we are going to, where it's this blend of both human thinking and machine. So in terms of customers, I mean, there are a lot of customer cases. It's more at this stage, again, it's not flying to space and creating flying cars. It's about we're doing things like lots of automation, a lot of activities related to machinery breakdown, so predictive maintenance and predictive analytics. And that works tremendously well. And it's tying in. So in predictive maintenance, we can go, one of our clients, they've got an oil rig, and they're using drones now as opposed to people. So because of coronavirus, people haven't been able to get out to the rigs. But the drones go around with infrared cameras, and they can check where there's heat loss, where there are cracks, and stitch together all of that data Then you take additional data such as pressure and speed and whatever permutations there are and data that's coming in to understand whether there's going to be some kind of catastrophic failure if some part needs to be replaced. So a lot of it is mundane, boring stuff that is taking away roles that we don't really need to be doing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some maintenance, for example, on petrol station or gas station forecourts, identifying threats. So people smoking in a lot of countries, actually using a mobile phone, which is a bit harder to prevent all of us doing whilst you're filling up your car. And that was quite interesting, because normally you would have somebody there, or even you would deal with it when there had been an incident. So it was almost like an insurance backup, we'll go back and look at the CCTV footage. So yeah, those mundane tests, that's really, really interesting. In terms of trends and things that you've worked on, have there been any surprises, any kind of anecdotes that you weren't expecting?
I think the biggest challenge or the biggest surprise for me is just how unprepared people are. So that's one, in terms of they don't know where their data is, they don't know the quality of the data, and the surprise for me is that people don't know where to start. And AI isn't brand new, and I think it's perhaps that AI and machine learning is being given such a big buzz that it's all these smart people, it's the job of the future, it's going to take away jobs, that people forget that we're really still in control of the process. You really still need humans to manage the process, and it really is going to improve our lives. I showed that photograph of that pigeon with the camera on it. It's a terrible idea, but technology has moved on. We've now got GoPros. We've now got tremendous cameras on our phones, and we need to progress. We need to go forward. Is this going to make our life better, more enjoyable, and create new opportunities for business at the end of the day?
Just finally, you talked about community, and I can totally see that you'd have some fans, people who give these predictions, who give regular updates. Have you yourself got a community? Is there something that the delegates from this conference can join or follow you?
Well, I mean, they can go onto my LinkedIn page. In terms of the data science that particularly we've been focusing on is brand health checks. So if you're a business and you want to understand how your brand is doing across all channels, social media, and yeah, so elements like that. But a lot of our other clients are financial clients, and none of that data, leaves anywhere. So a lot of our work is, again, that mundane stuff, looking at traditional businesses. But I've got a couple of concepts on the boil. One is to build a 3D food replicator for space stations. So that's in the background, and I've got we're trying to figure out how to codify the flavor of food and how you can replicate that, with the nasty gel in space, so that they're not just eating frozen carrots all the time. So that's something that's on the boiler. But in terms of data science, there's a brilliant company. I think if anyone wants to start their data science journey or start to understand how data science works across the organization, go and have a look at a company called Dataiku, Dataiku. They do enterprise AI, and for any company really wanting to get started, scale quickly, that's the platform that I can say you can teach anyone, I'm sure even yourself, to become a data scientist, just to understand the process and start building products for your own business.
Well, this is an affiliate marketing conference, so you've missed a trick, Nicholas. You should have given us a link where you get a little something back for that.
I'll send that down. I'm still learning, so I'm from the creative space, so this affiliate stuff is all new for me. I've tried, actually, on my website. I've put my first affiliate link because I did watch something. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I'm learning some tricks. So thank you.
Yeah, no, pleasure. Well, thank you.
And I can offer. I can say as an online affiliate trick, 20% off to anyone who takes advantage of Wunderbrand services if they mention the conference. So yeah. So
20% off. You heard it here. If you mention TES affiliate conferences and you work with Wunderbrand. Nicholas, thank you so much. I'm personally fascinated by data science, and I think it's Schadenfreude, isn't it, in German? I'm kind of fascinated by the misinterpretation of data as well. I think there's a whole community you could build there, people who get it horribly wrong.
Oh, yes.
But thank you so much. Thanks for your time. We'll be back at the top of the hour, and the next session is about SEO, blogging, and e-commerce in India. Thanks very much.
In the past 10 years, Crack Revenue has been working hand in hand with affiliates. We feel blessed to have thousands of brand ambassadors across the world that proudly promote both Crack Revenue and our most profitable brands. Because of this, we want to help them succeed by doing everything we can, from dedicated affiliate managers to 24/7 live chat support, to newsletters and blogs packed with insight and expert advice. We also update our Crack Revenue platform on a monthly basis, providing more tools, more features, and more creative content for affiliates to use. Not only do we want affiliates to follow the whale, but become one as well.